go, we're recording. I'm going to pop you all on mute and then say hello, good evening. It's chilly, frosty here in Yorkshire. So I hope wherever you are wrapped up and warm and safe and sound. Here we are again for Discover Tai Chi and LimbPower. We're going to have a kind of look at the back-ish. Can you look at your back? Not really. Yeah, you'd have to use a mirror, wouldn't you? So yeah, we're going to kind of get into our back a little bit. So seated, standing, you know the rules. If you are seated and you are able to and feel comfortable doing so, see if you can leave the back of the seat for a little while and be self-supporting through that torso. That would help. But if you really do need the back of the seat for support, use it. Okay, so let's get going. So we're going to start off with part the earth from the sky, because it has this association with the spine, this sense of lengthening and then a sense of coming back together. A little bit like a concertina or an accordion, shall we say. Okay, so let's hold the ball. Doesn't matter which hand you choose to have on top. And first of all, we're just going to get into that motion of swapping the hands, pushing up, pushing down, and then bring the hands back. And then swap and go again. You can push a little bit higher than me. My hand will disappear out of frame if I go too high, so feel free to push a bit higher with that hand. I'm trying to keep mine in frame. So I might swap to the seat in a moment. But let's just get that movement first of all. If I turn to the side, again, you can just get this notion of pushing, returning, and then pushing again. So that gets the movement. Okay, let me join people seated, and it will help illustrate things a bit easier as well. Let's sit at a bit of an angle. So now every time we do that separation and push, I'd like you to have the sense that you're gently being encouraged to grow tall through the torso. A less pleasant way of thinking about this is someone is pulling your head and pulling your pelvis, and that feels a bit like putting you on a rack or something like that, which I don't want to do. So think of this sense of lengthening through the spine, and then every time we bring the hands back together, there's just a sense of return and a sense of contraction. So we're working with those classic yin and yang dynamics of expansion and then contraction. So once again, any hand, and here we go. So have this sense that you really grow tall through the spine, then let things just relax. Don't slump, but just kind of have a sense of being relaxed. And then once again. And we're keeping the hands, again, if I turn to the camera a bit more square on, the hands right now are on the center line. Okay, so we're keeping them on the center line for now. We're going to change that in a moment. Lovely. Okay, so yes, now we're going to change. We're going to let the hands move to the sides respectively, both up and down. You can do this with me. So as we bring the hands to go, I'm going to push up now to the side and down to the side. And I'm pushing maybe a little bit more strongly, or with a bit more oomph, as I say. And then we do the same, swapping. If I turn to the camera, you can see I'm pushing. And you'll notice that the fingers of the top hand are pointing across the top of the head. In the bottom hand, the fingers tend to point forward, so that just gives you an indication of finger direction if you were wondering. Once again, so that just gives us an extra bit of encouragement through the spine, and then there's that contraction. So we're really imagining that we're creating some space for ourselves. Okay, one more on each respective hand and arm, going up and down. So we'll do one more. Okay, so that was our first little progression or extension. Just have a little march on the spot or a little rock and roll in your seat with me, just to relieve any pressure. We're going to do another progression. We're going to add a little bit of rotation into that movement now. So again, we're thinking of the spine being lengthened gently, and now we're going to add some rotation. So let's all have the same hand on top, because that will help me with my sort of direction. So let's have left hand on top. Sorry if you have to swap. Okay, so the right hand will be rising up to the side, and then I'm turning to the bottom hand and kind of looking down and behind me, and you'll get a bit of a stretch, or even quite a bit of a stretch, and then gently return, and then slowly bring the hands back. It's quite a strong movement. Here we go again. This time it's my left hand rising, so find that position first and then move to look down and behind you somewhat. Don't overdo it, but aim to have that sense. If I was being more flippant, I would suggest that there's a couple of tenors behind you and you're looking to see where they are. Okay, that might get an extra inch or two of range of motion now as we go up again. And you're turning to look, oh yeah, there is a £10 note. And then come back. It's surprising what money will do for motivation. Here we go again. Turning, looking. So you get really quite a long lengthening. I had a right old clunk then, you probably didn't hear it. Oh, there you go. I'm going to go again to the opposite side. Don't worry about clunks. Nothing bad is happening. Just little bubbles of nitric oxide gas in the joint. Other side. Lovely. We're going to come back and just rest for a moment. So that's quite a strong, powerful influence I hope you can feel on the spine, adding that progression. I'll keep seated. We'll kind of keep the rotation going, but now we're going to spiral upwards for gaze at the moon again. Strong sense of elongation and rotation. So here we go, up to the right. Again, start gradually at first. Just get used to the idea. And again, have this sense that every time we sweep up, the spine is lengthening up into the fingertips. And then relax on the down, and then once again up on the other side, a momentary pause, and then down to go in the opposite direction. That's it. And again, we'll get quite a sense of lengthening through. But also, as we do that, one more time. Excellent. Have a rest on that one. Okay. Let me stand up and we'll keep this theme going. So seated or standing, we're going to lift our box, bring it down, and then take a bow and kind of look to the ground as we let the hands travel down the legs. Obviously, if you sat down on the sides of the legs or even on the tops of the legs is probably best. And for those of us who are stood up, the hands can travel down the backs of the thighs. Okay, but first of all, we lift a box or have a balloon rise, and again that has a sense of lengthening through the spine. And then as we bring the ball down, we actually want to keep that sense of length as we bring the hands down into position, seated or standing. And then we're taking a bow. We're basically looking down between our feet, seated or standing. You can let the back or vertebra round a little bit and then slowly, slowly come back up. Again, we're not aiming for a stretch. We're not aiming for a hold. We're just moving in a natural way. Again, maybe we've dropped something just down between our feet. Mobile phones tend to be the thing, don't they? So here we go again, up. So we're aiming to get a sense of lengthening through the spine. And then as we bring the hands down, we're trying to keep that sense of length. So that as we begin to look down and take a bow, kind of helps us. And we just might find that that range of motion is extended a bit as I go up again. Just breathing very comfortably. Again, aiming to keep that sense of tallness or growth upwards. Tung, T-E-N-G, it's called in Chinese. Again, it's a tricky word to translate into English because it kind of captures a multitude of feelings and senses of kind of growth upwards, but it could also be about how one is feeling. You know how we talk about when we feel down in the dumps. Tung would describe maybe the opposite, where we are feeling confident and able to face life in the eye, something like that. Here we go again. There we go. Some of you may even reach your feet. Maybe. I'm going to go one more time. Just about reached my feet on that last one. Not that I was aiming to do so, but it just slowly comes over time. That's a nice one to do again if you've been sat at a desk, or like Helen and I, we've been traveling up and down the country this past sort of 7 days, driving, then on trains, carrying luggage. It takes its toll, doesn't it? So it's a good one. Right, another movement that's going to be a little bit challenging. So we're going to start off easy at first. It gets us in that position, first of all, where we lift up overhead. Okay, but keep a sense of holding our box or balloon or ball. And now I'm going to turn. So I'm going to make a turn to the right. You can probably feel that quite quickly. Come back, keep the hands up and turn to the left. You can again probably feel that pretty quickly as we come, and now let the hands come down. Lower that ball, box or balloon, and just take a breather. Okay, we're going to go again. That is just the beginning of the movement. Okay, so let's go again. We're going to come up nice and tall, that sense of up to the fingertips, turning to the right. You can feel that through the muscles of the rib cage and the muscles of the abdomen. There we go. And then bring them down and rest. Okay, the next movement to add on to this is we're going to make a turn, and then we're going to have a little look down to the ground on either side. Okay, so go gently. Here we go. So I'm going to turn to the right once the hands are up overhead. I'm going to make a little turn to the right, and then I'm keeping my hands in place and I'm just kind of looking down and then coming back up. That will challenge your torso, and then I've got to do the same on the left. I turn, and especially if you're seated, that's a challenge. You don't have much scope, but it certainly, a bit like Heineken, reaches the bits that we don't normally reach. Everyone okay on that one? Okay. So if you wish, if you're standing, you've got the scope to have a bit of a wider stance. That will help you with your base of support. For those of us who are seated, you can really feel how the torso is having to work quite a bit to maintain stability. You also recognize you haven't got much latitude before you would feel as though, oops, I might actually go too far. So again, we're having to be mindful of this as we go up. We're turning to the right, and then it's a look down towards the ground while keeping those hands overhead. Up we come. And we immediately then turn to the left and do the same thing. Okay, up we come. And then down. Ooh, quite challenging. But again, it's really kind of getting into the spine and that sense of mobilizing. Again, you're sat at a desk or you've been sat in a car for a long period of time, and you need something to kind of get the spine mobilized again. Okay, let's keeping with the idea of rotation and a very sketchy association with St Andrew's Day. For anyone who watches from Scotland, we're going to do 4 directions, but we're going to do it on this diagonal cross. So there you go. I said it was a sketchy association, but St Andrew's Day is coming up. I think it's Saturday. Pick up the right hand, and we're pushing up. Again, this is going to mobilize through the upper part of the back as we push up, and then draw the hand back down. And as we bring it down, we pick up the left hand and we go up diagonally to the right. And again, you can feel that as well. And now we're going diagonally down, right hand down to the left, following the lines of a cross. Back again, left hand, so from shoulder down, past the hip, looking in that direction, and back. And then we'll go up with that right hand to the left again, pushing up, draw back, And now pushing up, left hand to the right. Right hand down to the left. Again, let the torso turn. And then down to the right with that left hand. Good stuff. And again, just have a bit of a relief of pressure, walking on the spot with your legs or moving from side to side in your seat just to ease things off. Okay. Keeping with the spine and back again, let me join people seated again. Embracing rainbows from Shibashi. Again, the idea is to think of stability over the idea of bending too far either to either side. Imagine that again we're holding a very large kind of inflatable medicine ball. So I'm picking up this ball. It's big, it's round, it's the sort of thing that sometimes people sit on. And then just tip, I'm going to tip to the left and I look to that left hand, but I've got to keep the hands in contact with my imaginary medicine ball. And then pick it back up. And then I'm going to tip to the right and I look to the right hand. So again, the spine and torso are working extra hard to do so. Here we go to the left again, tipping. So don't aim for a big tip. Aim to tip somewhat, but then kind of stabilize as we go from one side to the other. But try and keep this sense of your large medicine ball. Try not to let the hands come closer and closer together. If anything, you almost want that medicine ball to inflate a bit and push the hands a bit further apart. There we go. I'm going to do one more on my right side because I think we started on the left. I hope we're in sync, but don't worry if we're not. Come back up and lower. Ooh. There we go. Okay. Last one that is quite challenging. Okay, and then we'll kind of bring things kind of back to something a bit more reasonable. Carry the moon down to the earth. So this is again where we're looking up. We're going to be doing a big grasp or embrace of the moon, bringing it back and then lowering down. So again, a big movement that demands a lot from us, seated or standing. Again, if you're standing, maybe a little bit of a wider stance, not too wide, but enough to give you some stability for those of us who are seated. Again, see if you can get some weight across onto our respective hips as we go to the right and left. Let's go to the right. Okay, the moon is up, look up, and then embrace that moon. Get some weight across to reach, and then carry it. Stabilize and then lower down. Again, we want to have this sense that the moon is almost out of reach, so you're really having to lengthen through the torso as I go to the left, up, and then slowly, slowly bring the moon down. It's just like catching a ballet dancer and bringing them gently down onto the stage after they've leapt into the air. Leapt or leaped. Here we go to the other side. last one on my right. And last one on the left. And down. Let's have a bit of a shakeout. So I hope that's been a useful focus, a real focus on spine and trunk mobility, but also stability as well. We can't have one without the other. We don't want to be too stiff or inflexible, but neither do we want to be so flexible that we don't have any kind of sense of structure or ability to maintain a position. Okay, let's kind of get things kind of gathered up and a little bit more symmetrical and a little bit more stable. I'll stay seated. So first of all, let's just go big, but we're just going to keep the hands and arms moving comfortably, not too high, not overstretched. And just kind of bring things down a little bit. Can drop the hands down. Can be a breath in. Breath out. And again, a simple, symmetrical shape that we create just kind of helps turn the volume down. Then we're going to just come to shoulder height, fold at the elbows, very familiar. And down, we can avoid the legs, come up just to shoulder height. Last one. Breath in if you wish, breath out if you wish, and then just letting my hands come together. Link the thumbs if you wish. And again, we come to our familiar position, just lower abdomen, just below the navel, and we can just rest. Let the shoulders kind of just rest down, elbows rest in, eyes can rest and close lightly if you wish. You can take a big breath in with a bit of an emphasis and let it go. Just kind of let everything within the torso and the spine kind of feel relaxed and at ease as much as you can. Again, that will mean different things for different people, but that's your focus, to be balanced, poised, but with as little effort as possible. And just breathe in that position. And a little meditation for you for the rest of the week is, can you find that sense of balance and poise in day-to-day life? Can you be mindful of that balance and poise while doing tasks? Could you just slow down a little bit maybe in a certain task? Going to the shops maybe, not in a hurry, slow down a bit, be just a little bit more mindful of how we carry ourselves. Again, tung, TNG, again, kind of encapsulates all of these ideas of carriage, how we carry ourselves, how we think about ourselves in time and space and in relation to other people in different contexts as well. I said it was a difficult word to translate. It really encapsulates all sorts of ideas. There you go. I hope that was interesting. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you feel a little bit more limber in the torso and back, and that we haven't overdone things. we'll be back next week. We're into December, aren't we, next week? So we've got a run into Christmas.